Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Well, it is about 5:20 or 5:30 on Friday evening, and I am currently uploading my drama video inside, and I just fed Boo Radley. I found these packages of this stuff that I had ordered all different kinds of food, and these one packages of food are kind of like beef and stew. It's like beef pieces in like this stew. And so what I've been doing is like on his plate, because we put it like on one of our plates, it's easier for him to eat that way. On half of the plate I put like one kind of food, and then on the other half I put the other kind of food to kind of see which one he likes better. And last night, this one kind of food that we had been feeding him, which are the ones that come in like the little cups. Do you guys know the ones I'm talking about? He likes those, or he seemed to like those, but last night I put this stew, which like was a new kind of stew. The brand, which I don't know what the brand is, it comes in these little packages and you just pull open the top. It's like yellow. I don't know if it's Purina or whatever. Our vet said at this point, just anything that he will eat, let's just get him to eat. So, because he's such a picky eater. And I think part of it too is, like our vet was saying that, and Tanya was saying this the other day too, that like with, like when Tucker and PP were here, like, you know, he would eat faster because he didn't want them to eat his food, but now that they're not here anymore, he just leaves his food. And then like he might come back to it like, you know, hours later and finish it, but he doesn't always just eat it right at first. But one of the things that he does, it's kind of cute. It's cute, except, I mean, okay. But what he does is, like, if he doesn't like his food or he doesn't want to eat it, he covers it up with one of his blankets in his house, which means we have to wash the blanket and then take the blanket out. But last night, I went down there to see if he had eaten his dinner, and the side that was this, like, steak in like this stew kind of stuff, he had like eaten all of that. Like that entire side of the plate was like licked clean, but the other side he had the blanket over. It was so hilarious. And so I went upstairs, and is this our mail? Our mail is coming later and later every day. Oh, there he is going out of the neighborhood. But I told Alex, I said, he covered his food up with the blanket again. So anyway, but he is down there right now. So today I put the whole plate, I put the stew on it because he seems to really like that. So that'll probably last a week, and then he'll get sick of the stew and he won't want to eat the stew anymore, and then we'll have to find something else. But for right now, he seems to like that. Sometimes he goes like, you know, he won't eat for a long time, and then like he'll like devour like everything he eats. So I'm uploading my drama video, and then I did a Peterisms video. I'm going to upload that here in a second when I get done with my vlog. Alex is having drinks with his mom after work. And Alex's brother is coming into town this weekend. My brother-in-law, Juan Carlos, who we call Fufu, is coming in town from San Diego this weekend. And so, yeah. So he went to go have drinks with his mom tonight at this steakhouse called 1933. And I was texting him because I was like, if you guys are eating, could you bring me something home like macaroni and cheese? Because steakhouses always have like the best macaroni and cheese or mashed potatoes. I looked on the menu and they only have lobster mac and cheese, but I think I remember from going there that they'll make mac and cheese that doesn't have lobster in it. So if they're willing to do that, then I'm going to do that. And see if he'll bring that to me. But this is the very last bit of coffee, iced coffee that I have for my iced coffee that I bought at Fresh Time. So I thought I would sip it while I'm out here and talking to you guys. Been kind of a sad day today. So Tanya was out of town the last couple days. She went to Saugatuck, Michigan with her husband. they stayed in a bed and breakfast. They had a fantastic time. She had so much fun. They were gone for, I think, 3 nights. And Tanya, incidentally, had never been to Michigan before. I think she said she had never been to Michigan before, which was so funny. So they got like massages, and then they did like a picnic dinner one night on the beach at sunset. And she loved this bed and breakfast they stayed in. She said the people were just like unbelievable that like that owned it and ran it, and they were so nice. And they did dune buggies yesterday, and then they came home today. So I woke up today, and Tanya texted me and told me that that my sponsor had passed away. So not my current sponsor, but I've had 5 sponsors in my life, and 5 or 6 sponsors. And last year, my sponsor that passed away, so there was a group of us that used to travel together, and my sponsor Mike from a year ago that passed away, he was part of that group. And then the sponsor of mine that passed away today, he was part of that group too, and we were all just like really, really tight. And he was actually the man who sponsored me the longest in recovery. He sponsored me, I think, for like 12 or 14 years. He was actually my sponsor for the 4 years that I didn't go to meetings, and he would call me and keep in touch. And walked me through my mom's passing, and just really sad. And he had been sick for a really long time. He had like really horrific arthritis, but he had a lot of he was a lot older, and he had a lot of really severe medical conditions. But probably one of the wisest people that I've ever met in my entire life. Just feels kind of surreal. Tanya and I were talking about how it feels so weird because I just guess I always assumed he'd just kind of be around, you know? He's the guy that I talk about, where he and I, and then this guy that I was sponsoring, we went to, a friend of mine, we went to Jim Dandy in Noblesville, Indiana, which is kind of like a Denny's or a Perkins or whatever. And, but they have like a cheeseburger there that's like a Big Mac, but they call it the Jim Dandy. And so we were like looking at the menu and we didn't know what to get. This is actually where I also got like those pies. I think that was for like Thanksgiving or something. That I took like a bunch of pies to Caroline's house, and they have like the most unbelievable pies in the world, like sugar cream pies and pumpkin pies and all these pies. But anyway, we went to Jim Dandy to eat one day after a meeting, and oh my God, do you think you have your GPS loud enough? And we were like, so my sponsee was like, I don't know what to get, and my sponsor was like, a Jim Dandy, of course. He was real funny and just a super great guy, and always real thin and kind of frail, and looked like a truck driver, and always wore like a trucker hat. And he used to tell me this story about that when he got sober, like, people would tell him to take his hat off when he prayed, and somebody like took his hat off and like threw it on the ground, and he picked his hat up and he put it on, and he said, my God doesn't care if I wear a hat. He really changed my perspective about a lot of things. And He really saved my life. How are you? They came by.
Well, no milk for us then.
Check mine. No. I've checked it twice today.
It's somebody new.
I haven't seen you at the pool.
I know. When did I go? I went Wednesday.
Okay, I'm back. That was a long break, actually. My neighbor across the street on the corner, she just retired this last year. She's a retired school teacher. And she worked in a Catholic elementary school. And so that was the neighbor that lives on the corner. She came over and we talked for a really long time. And she was telling me about the HOA board. And because, like, they think I'm really going to run for it. And she's like, I don't know. You might really want to think about it. She's like, you know... She was like, I don't know. She was like, what you think about the HOA board? And she's like, they kind of like get into thinking about things, talking about things, like I think would drive you a little crazy. But she did tell me that they decided that they are keeping the pool open till the 17th of September because we're supposed to have nice weather like the first couple weeks of September, which thank God that gives us like another 5 weeks of summer, which I'm really excited about because then I don't have to be like rushed to get to the pool, and Caroline and I have some more days and stuff like that. So that's exciting. And then her husband came across, and so I was talking to the both of them and asking them what they were having for dinner tonight. And she said, oh, she said, I have been so unproductive today. She said, probably just a little penne pasta with some tomato sauce on it. And what else were we talking about? We were talking about TV shows, and she was sad. She was saying they were sad because the TV show they watch, something midwife. She said it starts in like 1957 England or something like that. It's coming to an end, or they're coming to the end of it or whatever, and they love this show. So she said they were going to watch that tonight, and they're really, really sweet. It's funny because, so the neighbor on the other side of us, the 2 neighbors ago, the woman that lived there, she and her husband, they lived here because he was like the president of a company in a different state. This was at the time, like a couple people lived in here like that were like this, but their kids lived here in Indianapolis. So they wanted to be close to their grandkids or have a place close to their grandkids, so they bought a condo in here, even though their house was still in another town or another state, so that they would be here for like 2 weeks and then they would go to the other place for like a month or 2 weeks or whatever. Well, Alex got to be really, really close with her. I was close with her, but I wasn't as close with her as Alex was, and they would like text and stuff like that. And she was like, that was at, you know, the point where like I either had to park on the street or whatever. And so she told Alex, she's like, you can just park, like use our drive or use our garage because we're not here for like a month at a time. So she would give him like a garage door opener, and so he would just use their garage and park next door. So she was really good friends with our neighbor now who lives across the street, the retired school teacher. So when that condo went up for sale, this is how condos go like this constantly. When that condo went up for sale, she told her to come and buy it. God, this would have been at this point like 8 or 9, 10 years ago, maybe, probably 10 years ago. So she moved in here, and at that time she was dating him, but they weren't married because he didn't live there yet. Then they got married, and then he moved in. And then they moved out, the one that Alex like used their garage, and then this other couple moved in, and they moved in because their kids lived in Indianapolis, but he like was like an executive in Southern Indiana, and so they would go back and forth between Indianapolis and Southern Indiana or somewhere else. And so they came back and forth, but they redid that entire condo. I mean, it is gorgeous. That condo looks like Cape Cod. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, they came in, they redid the kitchen, they redid the flooring, they redid the bathrooms, the bedrooms, the skylight room, they did everything. It is the cabinetry, all the cabinetry, like in the living rooms. What is the pounding, like thunderous sound? They just said that it looked like it was going to pour down rain, that it was like really dark outside, and I went over and I looked. Hey! And I didn't see it. Something sounds like it's like pounding. So they redid that whole condo, and then they moved. And they said they were moving back to, that they like were moving, they weren't going to have a place up here anymore. But then like a year or two later, I saw them like right down the street. Like they lived right down the street or something. It was real weird. They were friendly, like, hi. That was the level of friendliness. It like never got past that. Like we never really got to know them. I don't even know their names or anything like that. Like they never said like more than hi to us or anything like that. They didn't say any more than that more than boo to anybody in the neighborhood. They just weren't super neighborly or anything like that. I mean, they were civil, but they were just, that was that, right? And then our neighbors that we have now live there, and that moved here, and they moved here because she retired. And funny that we have a lot of like educators in this neighborhood. She was like an administrator in education, and she retired. And then her husband was an engineer, and he retired like a year after her. And they lived in a different state, but their kids, or her daughter, lives here and has 2 sons, and so they moved here, and then their son lives close to here as well, so they're like closer here to all of that. So anyway, but they are super friendly, and so now we have like, and it's so funny because my other neighbor Laura, that's been in some videos with me, she just walked by with her mom, so they're taking the dog for a walk. So we have like a perfect little corner right here of all of our neighbors. It's really nice. I trimmed my beard today. It was getting kind of long. I tried to trim it around my nose a little bit. I shaved this part and down here. You know, it's interesting when I need to trim my nails, is what I need to do. It's interesting, I've always, since I've been sober, lived out loud. And what that means is that you just always kind of like talk about your life and tell about your life and whatever, right? Like, I've never, whether it's a social situation, whether it's a neighborhood, whatever, like, if the topic, like, I don't go out of my way and go, I'm sober, I'm a person in recovery. But, like, if a topic comes up, or if I find a way to maneuver it in a conversation, because I do think that it is an important piece of information for people to know about me, I do bring it up, right? And I think it's interesting because through the years, I've had friends of mine who have kept their recovery segmented away from different parts of their social life. Like, their neighbors don't know that they're sober, or, you know, whatever. And I understand, like, with work environments and things like that. Like, my mom is a teacher. Like, she really never wanted people to know where she worked, like, that she was in sobriety, because she was like, people look down on women, whether or not you want to believe this or not. She would say people look down on women, whether they're sober or not. They still think it's like a weakness. And she was like, you know, and people don't necessarily want their kids having teachers that are sober or whatever. And this is like, I mean, 1995, 1996. Now, I don't know how true that is today. I don't know how true that was then. You know, like, if your child had a teacher that you knew openly was sober, maybe not 20 years, but let's say at 6 months or a year, like, you know, I don't know. But that was my mom's prerogative, and, you know, and talking about, you know, anonymity and people's choices and whatever is their business. And, but I've always been somebody that's lived out loud and told my story. And it's interesting because, like, so I was telling her about my sponsor, and I was saying, like, you know, I said I was just talking about this in my vlog, and she said, oh, are you vlogging right now? I said, no, I turned the camera off. I said, but I was just talking in my vlog about the fact that I found out today that my sponsor passed away. And, you know, it's like, I've already talked to her a lot about being sober and being in recovery, and my neighbors all know that, right? Like, they all know that I don't drink or do anything else. They all know that I'm active in a 12-step program. Most of them have met my friends when they've picked me up for meetings, because I, like, definitely my neighbors across the street, because he'll walk across the street and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so. And, but, you know, like, I think it's really, like, I would never tell anybody what to do. Like, if it's your prerogative to never tell a soul and keep it to yourself, that's your business. You have to do you. But, like, it's only ever made it easier in my life that everybody knows that I'm sober. I mean, I think to some degree there is a level of accountability, first of all, that there's going to be so many more people that if I were to pick up and start using again, that would be like, this is crazy. Like, okay, through the years that I've been on YouTube, there's been a few times, and I mean a very few times, when ridiculous, like, haters of Peter have come out and said things about, like, me relapsing or whatever, and or doing this or doing that related to drugs and alcohol. Which, first of all, let me tell you how I feel about that. And I've said this in drama videos before. I don't know if I've said it in a vlog video, but this is how I feel about it. To speculate or to rumor, okay, incorrectly about somebody that is an addict in recovery, I believe, is to wish them death. Because if I were to go back out and start using again, I will probably die as a result of it. I don't know that I have it in me to come back around and get, I hope I do, you know. I have many friends of mine that have relapsed and come back into the rooms of recovery, or, you know, gotten sober other ways, but, you know, I don't know. And so addiction is not a funny thing. Like, I mean, addiction is a life-threatening disease. If you don't believe it's a disease, that's whatever. I'm not going to fight that with you, but people are dying from addiction. We know that, right? So to cast rumors or to joke or whatever about that, or rumor mill about that, to me, I don't take that lightly. Like, that's not funny to me. And the few times that it's happened, I block people immediately. It's like, that's where you're just going to find your way out. Like, I don't play games with that. I take addiction and recovery very, very seriously, you know. But the thing that's I think is that I so live my life out loud, and I so talk about my recovery and my sponsor and my friends that are in sobriety. And, you know, like, Tanya and I have constantly talked about, like, through the years, not constantly, but we've talked a lot about the fact that, like, I mean, if one of us went back out and started using again, our relationship would really, really change. Like, I don't even know what that relationship would look like. You know, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be friends with Tanya anymore, that if she started to use, but I don't know, like, in what capacity, because our language that we speak is recovery. That doesn't mean that when we're talking about the Housewives or a movie or whatever that we're talking in recovery, but, like, that's the commonality of us. Like, that's how we know each other, and I lean on her for that, and she leans on me for that. So I don't know what that would look like, you know? And I just think it's difficult. But the thing is that, like, I live out loud so much, like, in my videos and just in my life and whatever, and social media, talking about sobriety. One, because it's my life, it's who I am. And two, because I want people to realize, okay, that you can do this too. It's like, I'm not like a special condition. It's not like, wow, I got something that nobody else can have. Or, I mean, there's millions of people that are sober. There's millions of people that are living good lives. There's millions of people that are, you know, getting jobs of their dreams, or repairing their families, or getting college degrees, or, you know, getting acting jobs, or becoming YouTubers, or whatever. There's people out there that, you know, are just, or just simply paying their bills and getting by and having a really good time doing it sober. You know, there's a lot of people out there. And so it's really important for me that people know that. And that's why I continue to tell my story. But also, not just because it's my story, but because it's what I live 24 hours a day. Like, I don't really ever forget that I'm an addict or an alcoholic in recovery. I mean, it's just such a huge part of who I am, that the fact that anybody would ever question that, like, to me, well, first of all, it doesn't matter to me. I don't stay sober for anybody else. Sure, if I'm not doing the things I need to do in sobriety, and if I'm not sober, it's going to affect the people in my life. I mean, they're directly going to be affected. But I don't do it for that. I don't stay sober for anybody but myself today. I do stay sober so that I can have great relationships with people in my life, you know, have good relationships with family members and my husband and people, my friends and things like that. But that's only one of the reasons why I stay sober, you know. Most of the reason why I stay sober today is, in all honesty, because I've had a spiritual experience, and I have a life beyond my wildest dreams that I can't imagine giving up for a drink or a drug. And if for some reason I would pick up and I can't handle it, I'd be right back there again. And I would lose literally my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my stepmom, my relationship with Caroline, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my friends, Tanya, all my sober people. I would lose my house. I wouldn't be able to get up and function at all as far as on YouTube and stuff like that. So I'm not willing to just like hand that over, you know what I mean? So the fact when these rumors come up or whatever, which they rarely ever do, but the fact that anybody would ever believe them when I'm like, I so constantly am talking about recovery, I'm like, that is so foolish, first of all, and so evil to the core that you would wish that on somebody. I mean, like, that's really kind of, I don't even get that, you know what I mean? But I can say when I first got sober, I got sober because I wanted to get people off my back. Like, I just felt like everybody was like, you have a problem and whatever. And I'd be like, no, you have a problem with my drinking. I don't have a problem with drinking. You know, that's really what I felt. And, you know, my dad had such huge issues with it. Oh, shoot, I wish I had my phone. Caroline sent me a picture last night that she found of my dad and she and I, and it's so cute. I'm like 2 years old in it or something. And so, my neighbor across the street is examining her leaves. It's about time to take down all that stuff.
No.
You've been busy visiting all day today.
Yeah, my sister's brother-in-law from Kentucky.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
What'd you guys have for lunch?
We went to Pete Combs over at the Castle Mall.
What is it?
Tito's.
Was it good?
Yes, it's very good.
Are they leaving now?
No, that's my other sister that's leaving.
You got all kinds of family.
Yeah, I think that's it for a while.
But yeah, I did get sober for other people because I was like, I just want them off my back, you know? I just want people to leave me alone and whatever. And then I started having this I started having this peace and this serenity about me, you know? Where I wasn't waking up wondering what I did the night before, and I wasn't like spending tons of money, you know, and having to come up with excuses and lies about all of this stuff and fighting and arguing with people. I mean, like, my life was really simple, you know. I was getting up and I was going to meetings, and I was eating healthy, you know. I was like, I can remember at first when I got sober, my dad would come and he would like take me to the grocery store, and, you know, I was eating like turkey sandwiches, and I mean, it probably doesn't sound healthy to you, but like compared to what I was eating, it's like turkey sandwiches and potato salad, you know, and orange juice and fresh squeezed orange juice and, you know, all this stuff that, like, I just had really never eaten that way before. And you know, and I don't know, I just had this peace and this serenity about me. And then I remember at about 6 months sober, it would have been at 6 months sober, I got my coin, my 6-month coin. And I remember walking out of the meeting into the parking lot and holding the 6-month coin and being like, you have never done anything consistently for 6 months in a row, let alone stay sober. And then I was like, then my whole perspective changed. It was so funny because I was talking about perspective today on my Peter Isms channel. But then my whole perspective changed because I was like, if you could do this for 6 months, like we have this saying in recovery, right? That like, it's for the rest of our lives, one day at a time kind of thing. But I really got that. Like I really, really understood that anything, even recovery, is achievable for as long as you want, one day at a time. Like all I had to focus on was just one day at a time. And as corny as that sounds and as cliched as that sounds, it's really true, you know? Like all I have to do is worry about today. That's all I have to do. I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I don't have to worry about 6 months from now. I can plan for those days. I can put, you know, this here and put that there and whatever, you know, maybe $5 here, $5 there. And over time it like adds up and maybe I have a little bit of savings or, you know, maybe I think to myself, okay, 3 years from now, I want to like be back in college or I want to have a full-time job by this point. But like, you know, you just take it day by day. And that's what I did. And, I think never hiding, though, from the truth of who I was really powerful in keeping me on the straight and narrow path. Like, I think in being like, oh, it is dark. The clouds just got really dark up there. I think, do you guys want to see? I don't know if it'll even show up on camera, but no, it's not really showing up on camera that dark. But I think the truth of whenever I would meet people, you know, even like for the 4 years that I didn't go to meetings and I had no emotional sobriety and no spiritual foundation, even for those 4 years, when I went out to clubs, which we were going out to clubs like 5 nights a week, you know, everybody that I went out with and hung out with, they knew I was sober. They knew I had gotten sober, how many years I've been sober, like, you know, what I would say I was sober. I know I'm sober, I don't drink. You know, they knew that. And there were certain things that I stuck by, you know, like I wouldn't hold alcohol. I didn't like to hold alcohol. I mean, that's not to say that there weren't a few times in there that somebody wouldn't say, like, hold my drink, and I did. But for the majority of the time, I didn't do that. You know, it's like those kinds of things. It's like even people would be like, we're going to do shots. Do a shot of, you know, Diet Coke. And I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. And so, I just, like, the smell of the air just completely changed. And now I can hear the thunder. But anyway, it smells very earthy outside, like it is going to pour down rain any minute. But I'm grateful for that, you know? I'm grateful for that. And people ask, well, what is emotional sobriety? Emotional sobriety is, this is where, like, any way that anybody gets sober, I don't care, okay? Any way that anybody gets sober, I applaud. And to me, today, okay, for anybody else, not using drugs or alcohol, if that will not lead to you dying, I think is fantastic. How I define sobriety for myself, only for myself, okay, is not using any mind-altering substances, so being abstinent, working a 12-step program, having a sponsor, attending 12-step meetings, and being of service. That's how I define being sober for myself. I don't, however else anybody else defines it, that's on them. There's a lot of ways to get sober, right? I just don't want people to die anymore from using drugs and alcohol. And you better beat the rain. that was Laura and her mom. They must have walked all the way around and come back. So anyway, the thing is that when you, and this is for me what's hard, when you take the drug or the alcohol and you remove it, right? And you don't replace it with anything else, whether that's spirituality or whether that's therapy or whether that's a 12-step program or service, or you don't try to understand that. But like, a 12-step program is really just trying to understand what happened in your past. It's like, finding a higher power, and it's, making a list of your resentments and your fears and your conduct and taking accountability for that, right? And then making amends for that behavior of your past related to your use. And then focusing on saying, I'm not going to continue to do that in the future, and then being of service to others and practicing these principles in all of our affairs. So it's really about cleaning up the wreckage of our past and being better human beings. That's really what a 12-step program is all about, and relying on a higher power. Finding and trusting a higher power, right? And I know that that's not for a lot of people, and I understand that that's not for a lot of people. Do you? There was a time in my life where I was like, this is not for me, okay? But it works for me. But for me, emotional sobriety is when you take the drink or the drug, right? And you remove it. And it's, who am I then? Who am I without the drink or the drug? Because I can tell you, I have met a lot of people that are sober that have removed the drink or the drug, and I don't want what they have. Like, they do not seem like happy human beings to me. They do not seem content. They do not seem, they're not pleasant. They seem full of anger and full of resentment and misery. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for anybody else, right? And so what a 12-step program does is it gives you the opportunity to take a look at those things and say, well, where are those things coming from, or why are those things in my life today? And that's what emotional sobriety is, which during the 4 years that I wasn't going to meetings and I wasn't connected, it wasn't just about the meetings. I'm not a big believer that meeting makers make it. I mean, you can go to 100 meetings a week and that doesn't mean that you're any more sober than anybody else. I just don't believe that, right? But it didn't mean that, it wasn't just that I wasn't going to meetings. It wasn't just that I wasn't regularly working with my sponsor or whatever, or being of service. It just was that I was not of a great state of mind. I was angry. I was miserable. I was resentful. I wasn't taking a look at those things in my life. And those things really had nothing to do with drinking or drugging. We say that drinking is but a symptom of this disease. And it was like the drinking comes after all of this, right? And that's why you have to put the drink down. That's why if you go to treatment or counseling or whatever, they'll tell you this is a primary disease. You have to quit the drinking first. You have to quit the drugs first before you can understand anything else about yourself. And that took me a long time to understand, My mom, she went to therapy for years and years and years. She used to talk about this years later when she got sober. And my mom went to psychoanalysts where you would go 3 times a week and lay on a couch. You know what I'm talking about? My mom did deep therapy. And she went to this one therapist, and my mom said she went there for 3 years. And this woman finally said to her, you could come 5 days a week and we could continue to talk about all these issues. But until you stop drinking, I don't really think there's a point, because you've got to stop drinking to be able to work on these issues. And my mom was like, until she started, or she got sober and she stopped drinking, nothing really started changing in her life, because she was really medicating all of her issues with drinking, So I don't know. I am so thankful for sobriety. I'm so thankful for recovery, and I'm so thankful for the people that I've met. And that was a long-winded vlog tonight, wasn't it? One of the things that's kind of weird as I get older in sobriety, being that I have 27 and a half years, which is weird to say, is that the people that when I came in that had 20 to 30 years are passing on, and they're no longer around. And it's hard, these were the people that were there for me when I got sober. So I think that's why it's important for me to be there for others when they come in. That's why it's important for a lot of us, and my story is but a seed. Whatever your story is, maybe your story is not about addiction, maybe your story is about so many other things, so many issues in this world, right? Like neglect, or, you know, eating disorders, or abuse, or whatever your story is, whatever you've gone through in your life, whatever you have risen from and empowered yourself, you know, pass that story on, tell that story, plant a seed in somebody, a seed of hope that they can, you know, make it through to the other side. You know, that's what sponsors really do. Like, they're not these like iconic figures that get you through everything. I think I talk about my sponsors sometimes like they're superheroes, but my sponsor would say, I'm just, you know, she would say, I'm just a regular human being like everybody else. It stopped. But, you know, my sponsor would tell you that she's just a regular human being like everybody else, you know, and she's not a superhero. But she has a really great life as a result of her sobriety today, you know. And that's not to say that we don't have days that are tough or days that are hard. I mean, obviously we do, you know, but we get through them. And I am so grateful for... I haven't talked about my sobriety at length on here for a while. It's been quite a while since I've done that. I know some of you get overwhelmed a little bit when I talk about sobriety. You're like, oh my God, here we go again with Peter talking about it. But I love talking about it. I'm passionate about it, you know. All right, well, I'm going to get off here now, and I'm going to see if my husband is on his way home, and if he's going to... I'm kind of like, now I'm like, I put on there, I said, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, or French fries. I don't care which one. Let's just load up on carbs, right? And so I don't know which one he's going to bring me, but now I'm kind of like, macaroni and cheese sounds good, always. Macaroni and cheese always sounds good. But I'm kind of like mashed potatoes sound really good, too. So anyway... I will tell you that the mashed potatoes and the fries were $6, and the macaroni and cheese was $12. So, I don't know what that means. Well, it was lobster mac and cheese. I don't want the lobster in there. I don't think they can make it without the lobster. So, all right, I'm going to get off here now. So, I hope that you guys are having a magically amazing, what is today? Friday, beginning to your weekend. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. And remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, reach out to someone and let them know how much they mean to you. And it can change their day for the positive. You don't know, maybe somebody really needs to hear from you today. And I love you guys. Thank you for hanging out on the porch with me. It's been so much fun. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I hope. Oh my God, I don't know. We've got all kinds of stuff tomorrow. I have a haircut. I'm going to have to vlog early tomorrow if I vlog, because I got a haircut, and then we've got some errands to run, and we've got some other stuff that we're doing. We were going to maybe hang out with Melissa and Aaron tomorrow, so I don't know when I'm going to vlog. Oh, I don't want to have to skip another day. I'll let you know if I do. But anyway, I love you guys, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow, if not in my next vlog. And I love you guys, and I'll see you then. Bye. Love ya! And for those that need to hear it, and those that want to hear it, and those that just happen to stick around, one more, I love you. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you. Happy birthday, Lena.